Do you think this is the right call by Manchester United to go for Carrick over Solskjaer?
Yeah. Out of the two, I think Michael is a better choice. I think Ollie done well when he took over initially. He had a good run of games to take over, got some victories, and they finished second in the Premier League, which is a mile away from, well, a million miles away from where they are now. But it didn't end very well. You know, I remember that game away at Watford. It was quite toxic, actually, and the reception what he got from the fans. I'm not sure that would have been the right call. I think Michael's obviously done it for 3 games as an interim manager at Manchester United. He's gone away. He's worked at Middlesbrough and done a good job. He took them over in a very precarious position, and he got them looking up the leagues. I think he's level-headed. I think he's very good with the media. He looks the part. Not that that should matter, but in my opinion, I think he will get the respect of the players at Manchester United. I think he carries himself very, very well, and I think it's really important. And he obviously knows the game inside out. He's got a clear knowledge of Manchester United, which seems to be the important part with this interim appointment. It'd be very interesting, whoever it was going to be, if it looks like it's Michael now, when he has the chat with Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox, surely the question would be from Michael to them is, if I do well, do I take the job on a permanent basis? Because that would be my first question to them. Or am I an interim manager and that's it till the end of the season, which is 17 games? Because they're out of everything now. You know, there's a lot of time to work with the players. So if you are a decent coach and you have got a group of players who should be all fit because there's not an overload of games, certainly at United now, you should be able to coach the team to win enough Premier League games to, with the quality what they do have. I don't think they have great quality, by the way, but I don't think the Premier League is a fantastic quality at the moment. So I think it's realistic that they can challenge for the Champions League spots, whether it be 4th or 5th in the Premier League.
Because if Solskjaer had got the job, it would have been very much interim, because after what happened last time, it was very unlikely that Manchester United would have said, yes, you're doing well, we're going to give it to you full time. Yeah. Is that different for Carrick?
Well, possibly, but I think Michael will need to know that answer, and 100% he will know it. It's really difficult for the hierarchy there to give him a definitive answer, because what about if he goes and wins the 17 games? I mean, there would be a huge clamour from the Man United fans to give him the job on a permanent basis.
There was for Solskjaer.
Unless there was the trophy manager out there. And I said on Friday on this show, Unai Emery is the trophy manager. For me, he is the one you want to bring to your football club. But he wouldn't want to leave Aston Villa at the moment. He's running the whole shebang there. And he's doing a brilliant job of it. And it's a magnificent, huge football club, Villa, anyway. So 100% Michael will know what the job is. And I would suggest he's happy to take it for the interim period without any guarantees of any future involvement in the...
It's pretty clear to me now that Michael Carrick is the front runner to take over at Manchester United as interim head coach until the end of the season. Although Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still very much an option for United's bosses, and they have made no final decision as things stand. But it's been explained to me that Jason Wilcox, United's director of football, plans further detailed discussions with Michael Carrick and his representatives today, and there are no such meetings planned with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer right now. I think that tells you everything you need to know about where United want to go with this, but still a lot to sort out. No contractual detail has been discussed or agreed, and I think Wilcox will want to discuss with Carrick in more detail exactly who he wants alongside him in this role, who will be part of his coaching setup. I think it's looking increasingly unlikely that Solskjaer will be involved in that. But what about Darren Fletcher, who's been in the caretaker interim role for the last 2 matches and who doesn't know yet whether he's going back to his substantive job with Manchester United's under-18s or whether he's got a role to play in the new setup. So I think the next 24 hours will be important for Manchester United and for Michael Carrick as they try to drill down and work out exactly how his new role will work and whether they can reach an agreement. But detailed discussions today to that end, as I understand.
But we start with Manchester United, who are getting closer to appointing an interim manager. Live to Manchester and Daniel Kahn. Daniel, afternoon. Where do we stand with this one then?
Yeah, afternoon, Will. I mean, it looks like Manchester United are getting closer to appointing their interim head coach. As we reported this morning, Michael Carrick seems to be the front runner at this time. They're expecting detailed talks to continue today to just firm out those details, perhaps around what a potential backroom staff would look like for Michael Carrick if he is to take the interim head coach role, and a few other details as well. What we can also tell you is there's no planned talks further with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We know the hierarchy at Manchester United, the likes of Jason Wilcox, the director of football, met both candidates for the role in the last week or so, but I think Michael Carrick especially really impressed in this interview process, and that's led United to really explore him further for this role. Look, I don't know what it means yet for Darren Fletcher, who's taken the team over the last week, the draw against Burnley on Wednesday and then the loss last night against Brighton, whether he continues in the backroom staff. United did something similar when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took the role a few years ago. Kieran McKenna was promoted quite quickly from the academy into a first-team backroom role. So we'll await and see what Darren Fletcher's future awaits. But for now, it does look like Michael Carrick is the front runner, and we could see him potentially in the dugout for this weekend.
Well, Dan, that's what I was about to ask you. How confident are Manchester United, that the new interim boss will be in place for that huge Manchester derby? Because that is the way to win over those United fans at Old Trafford as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, United have taken a whole week since Ruben Amorim's sacking last Monday to really make sure this appointment is right, because you're right to mention the Manchester derby. It doesn't get too much bigger than that in the calendar for anyone connected with Manchester United. And then they have Arsenal the week after. So United are looking to get this appointment sorted in the next 24, 48 hours. The players are off actually until Wednesday just due to the busy Christmas fixture list. And also the squad has been stretched. We saw Luke Shaw out of the squad yesterday just purely down to squad rotation. So they'll come back in Wednesday. I think everyone at United expecting that interim head coach appointment to be done by then so they can take training on that Wednesday and continue preparations for the Manchester derby. And look, let's not forget, Manchester United, for all the news off the pitch with this interim head coach role and everything else, they need to get results on the pitch because the last few weeks have been quite disappointing. So look, Manchester derby, as you mentioned, on Saturday, live on Sky Sports, doesn't get much bigger than that.
Dan, thank you very much. Mr. Kevin Hatchard, always a pleasure to have you in the studio with us. Look, and we've talked till the cows come home about managers who already work in the Premier League getting the job potentially at Old Trafford. What about with your European hat on, ones away from these shores? And I'll throw one name at you, Carlo Ancelotti, because there's a lot of United fans who would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Ancelotti with Brazil at the World Cup. If that doesn't go well, or maybe if it goes incredibly well and he wins the World Cup, maybe he becomes available again. And he's somebody that's used to managing upwards. You look at what he's done with Real Madrid, it's an incredibly political club, and he handled Florentino Perez better than most. He's used to dealing with the scrutiny of a top club. He's used to winning things at a top club. And so I think he would be able to negotiate the tricky things at Old Trafford. It's just a question of whether they can make the signings that would give him the tools to be successful. But I think he'd be an interesting option.
And another name that has been touted around is Luis Enrique. His future in a little bit of doubt at PSG. What's the latest on him?
Well, there was talk that he had rejected the opportunity to extend his contract beyond 2027, but the sporting director, Luis Campos, said that was fake news. And then Luis Enrique has come out since then and said, these are just rumours meant to destabilise the club. He's happy where he is, and his intention is to carry on. So certainly it seems he wouldn't be an option for this summer.
And carrying on the conversation with Manchester United from a player's point of view, someone I guess who also is happy where he is right now is Marcus Rashford, a loan deal at Barcelona. We know he wanted to go there. He's scratched that itch and he's already won a trophy in the Super Cup last night in the El Clasico. How likely is it that he remains a Barcelona player on a permanent deal going forward, or is there any sniff that he might come back to Old Trafford with a new manager?
Well, it's all been very positive so far. I think what worked in his favour was the fact that Rafinha was injured, and that allowed Rashford to get a run of games, allowed him to settle with his new teammates. Every time Rashford's been interviewed about his time at Barcelona, he's been very positive. The question's going to be, now that Rafinha is back in the team, back fit, playing well, how many minutes is Rashford going to get between now and the end of the season? Now, if they can find a way of still keeping him involved, they seem very keen, Barcelona and Hansi Flick, on keeping him in the building. So I think that's the key. Is Rashford going to get enough game time between now and the end of the season?
Yeah. staying in Spain, as it were, Xabi Alonso. It was another painful defeat for the Real Madrid fans against their bitter rivals. A 5th defeat of the season. 4 points off Barca in La Liga, so that's not done and dusted by any means. But the doubts are creeping in about whether Alonso is the right man. They loved him as a player there. He won the Champions League, he won La Liga. Is he the guy to lead them to the new dawn?
I think the problem he's got, Xabi Alonso, is he came in with this idea of...
If you look at their next game, it's West Ham at home. Let's put it simply. Do they have to win that for Thomas Frank to stay in charge?
No more than Nuno has to win it to stay in charge of West Ham. El Sacico, isn't it? I mean, it is a huge game of football. West Ham, they go there, and if they play on the front foot and they take advantage of the fragile confidence of Tottenham at home, in front of their home fans, I think they've got a real chance. I think it was a positive second half performance. That's the only positive I could take out of the game against Aston Villa. They come out in the second half, but they're 2-0 down. You know, it's almost the game's gone. So it's a lot easier, Tom, when you're a player to come out 2-0 down, throw caution to the wind and start playing. They need to do that from the start. If they do that from the start, I thought there was a positive performance. If we go back to the Bournemouth game, I think they played a lot worse than the Bournemouth game and won games. You know, so it was a fairy tale ending, wasn't it, for Semenyo? Fantastic strike, last kick of the game. So they haven't had the rub of the green. I think they've got to look a lot deeper than that. I think the playing style was not fantastic. I think Thomas needs to take the shackles off them. They got players who are okay. They're not fantastic players. They're missing Kulusevski. We keep talking about him and Maddison. Maddison's not going to be back anytime soon. Kulusevski will be still unknown. Solanke was a positive coming back to fitness at the weekend. But they need to start passing the ball forward instead of sideways and back. Their midfield players are capable of getting turned and passing it between the lines. If they take lead from Aston Villa, it's exactly what Villa did. Unai Emery had a game plan to play 2 10s, Morgan Rogers and Buendia. And what they did is the midfield players, Tielemans come on very early, he pops it behind Tottenham's midfield players. There's little combinations of Morgan Rogers, Marlon, who was up front. They played excellently, Aston Villa, in the first half. And they ripped Tottenham to shreds. They ripped them to shreds. Not because they got better players, because their playing style was on the front foot. It was positive. Their first look was forward. They were running forward off the ball, into the box, beyond the centre forward. Tottenham were just basic. They were staying there. They were passing sideways and back, and everyone was scared to risk the ball. They got dribblers in their team. Second half, they picked up the ball and they took it to the opposition. That is what they're going to need to do. Play to your strengths. Your strengths are, you have got players like Xavi Simons. You have got Odegaard, who I thought played very, very, very well, and certainly in the second half. When they get the ball, just get at them. Don't play safe. I don't want you passing 3 yards backwards and square. Run and take the opposition on. Take the game to the opposition. If they do that against West Ham, they will win the game, and all of a sudden it starts looking brighter for Tottenham.
Michael Carrick looks like the most realistic and internally supported interim choice, while Zidane would be the higher ceiling but less likely option, and Solskjaer currently has less backing inside the club. Carrick is reported to be the leading candidate and is expected to take the interim job for the rest of the 2025-26 season, having already impressed during talks and past caretaker spells. Current players are said to prefer Carrick over a Solskjaer return, and the club wants a quick, low-disruption appointment before upcoming key games. Zidane has been linked with United multiple times, but recent reporting says he is more strongly connected with national team roles, especially France, than with taking an interim Premier League job mid-season. Bringing him in would mean a full project, not just an interim rescue, so it clashes with United's short-term, steady the ship brief.